Okay, I am live. And today, I am going to be discussing a lot of things with a very captive audience. Hi, good afternoon again from Canning Vale, the Aussies group. My name is Dharmindher Singh. I'm one of the migration agents down here. I will be talking about something that has been of some interest and lately more so because of a recent announcement on January 4th. So today's topic is going to be on Dharma. What and who else but Dharminder, speaking of Dharma, it's been a running joke with us internally, but Dharma is going to be the designated area migration agreement. And it's been something that I've been wanting to talk for quite some time. And ever since I think we made a trip down to Kalgoorlie itself, which is one of the areas, or was previously, it still is, speaking to the KBC group and what and how and the very framework of what Dharma really is. And I think that's what we're going to be talking about. More so because the southwest area has also been, or the area of Shire of Dardanup to be more precise, has been deemed to also as of January 4th be designated as Dharma in WA, which is brilliant. So what that is and which particular areas it will come under the Shire of Dardanup, which is a huge shire. And if the people from Shire of Dardanup are listening, thank you very much for the information you guys gave me early on when we spoke. So we are going to be, without further ado, talking about, in essence, really what Dharma is all about. Because everyone sometimes comes in and they've had various questions about the state sponsorship, what is it, how is it, employer sponsor visa, and they keep mixing this whole thing up with what Dharma is and what an employer sponsored visa is. So today I'll try to briefly, in every sense of the word, try to give you some clarity on that aspect. Number one. Number two, I will also talk about what are some of the popular occupations that really are on Dharma. And unfortunately, I can't be speaking in any other language today, but obviously in English. So just in case somebody does ask me to speak in Punjabi, then I do apologize in advance. And I will also go into perhaps the popular questions that has been asked is the childcare workers, the truck drivers, the mobile plant operators, we don't have many drillers, the occupations that puzzle me would be the carpenters, the motor mechanics, the carpenters, and all of them, and they come under whether AQ of level 2, 3, 4. We'll go into that. We also talk about not just how you eventually get into Dharma, but I think everybody also wants to know that, well, if they go and prepare and get everything sorted, how do they eventually lead into a permanent residency, which is really what we will talk about also. So without further ado, I've got a lot of information in front of me, which is on my desk down here. Some of it I unfortunately will have to refer to because of the specifics. But by and large, I'm going to talk about, let's talk about one or two people already asking me questions about the PTE and a wife's passport and can I apply for visa. I don't even know what that is all about, but that's okay. I will talk to you about basically just what Dharma really is all about. So Dharma has been around for some time, and there are about 7, if not 8, as of January this year, regions within Australia that is deemed a designated area. And then that's an agreement that's reached by the Department of Immigration, obviously, with all those participating areas to say that you have difficulty in accessing skilled labor shortage. You could be a business, you could be an area where it's really hard to really attract and get the kind of workforce that you need. And also, perhaps if you are in an outlying area within any part of where Dharma is closest to you, you might be interested to know how do you then, if you're not meeting any requirements in your existing place, your existing portfolio, you then need to then kind of perhaps look into this and tune in and pay attention. And I'm sure you have other questions at the same time. Feel free to. And those are the people that this will be very interesting to, because look, we've covered so much about state sponsorship. What is it? How is it? Do I meet this points, that points, and I need my English and all of that. We've covered this, and I think you've paid attention to the other topics that I've covered. But DAMA becomes interesting because, number one, not many people know about DAMA, as in not just agents or whoever, but just in general. Some employers don't know what DAMA is. So they then put it back to you. They say, oh, they're willing to sponsor you. You go and find out. And then you go, hang on, what is this all about? And hence why this is the queries I get. So today I'll really, again, go into those kind of aspects. So if you, and I will share some particular occupations as case studies, so then at least then we can, as a point of reference, refer to that. And also, if for whatever reason, if some of the information that you're hearing today, if you think, or perhaps is different from what you've read or what you've seen or whatever, feel free to correct me, and I'm happy for that. I don't have a problem with that. Or ask me, separately. You have my email contact, and I think you know that, and then we can go into that. So once again, I stress that DAMA really becomes very attractive for people who are, let's take, for example, childcare workers. Let's take community workers. Let's take residential care officers. Let's take, cook, enroll nurse. All of those occupations that you, for whatever various reasons, you are not meeting the requirements in the normal way. Your occupation is not on some skills list or something, and then your time is running out. So DAMA becomes a very, very attractive option. Could be for you, could be for your partner, could be for whatever. So we'll go into that. Now, let me just go into explaining to you. So basically, DAMA is just an extension of what is already existing for employer-sponsored visa. So if you wanted to get an employer who wants to sponsor you and you have the requisite 2 years of experience and your occupation is obviously skill level 1, take accountant, for example, take all of those ICT people, all of those occupations which is in level 1 is what I'm trying to say. You find an employer sponsors you, employer is an approved sponsor, they sponsor you, done, no problems. So you can go into that, you can go into that here, or you can go into DAMA. So DAMA still exists for that. But just because your occupation is within an area that is outreached or outlying and is far further away from wherever you are, and it's been demonstrated that that area has got difficulty in trying to attract the skilled workforce. And if you are in an area, if you are in an occupation, I'll be very specific, if you're in an occupation that has, how should I put this? You could also try to get a labor agreement sorted for some specific occupations that the employer then can firstly, run through within the Department of Immigration and DAR, which is a designated area representative, who will then say, right, you really do need this. You still do need to meet the labor market testing requirements that, yes, you've exhausted all avenues within that area, because they're usually very difficult to find people down there, and hence why they need to bring people from overseas. Because, overseas, technically speaking, you are still in Australia, you're on a student visa or anything like that, or you finish, or you're on your 485 or any other things. But you're filling the position as an overseas worker, technically speaking, right? So that becomes very attractive. But the employer needs to get the approval. Remember that. Okay, so just understand one thing. You're a childcare worker. You know that you cannot apply for the 190 and 491 in WA. I'm talking about specifically. Why? Because childcare worker is not there. However, childcare center manager is, and you already know all those childcare workers who are listening right now. The only way you can be invited is if you worked 1 year as a childcare center manager, got the assessment, and then thereafter perhaps are eligible, but which is very, very difficult to get. So this childcare worker then becomes very desperate to say, how am I going to get my PR? This is where it comes in. So childcare workers are level, here we go, childcare workers. Sorry, I'll be referring to this once in a while, and this is all in front of me. So you will go into, correct. So you are NSCO level 3. Now, you would need a skills assessment as well, by the way. So then the skills assessment for that becomes very interesting. Whoever your respective assessing body is will then decide that you have either AQF 3 or 4, and you might also, let me read this very, very precisely so we know we're not mixing that up. So let's put this thing down here. The beauty of doing this thing live. Okay. Right. Okay. So childcare worker, like I said to you, I was going to give you as an example. Now, you will have to definitely undergo a skills assessment conducted by the relevant assessing body and as specified by the labor agreement. And you must have an AQ of level 3 and have at least 1 year, which is 20 hours a week, a relevant post-qualification experience. So as soon as you finish whatever that you were doing, 1 year post-qualification, so if you're on your 485, you usually then had 18-month visa, or if you're about to finish, you're probably going to get a 2-year visa, so you could use that time to meet that requirements. So really that becomes very attractive. But then you think, I've been using this word, becomes very attractive, this is very good, or I'm a childcare worker, and how do I get that? How do you find that particular person? If you are sitting in Perth, which is really where this audience is right now, and if you wanted to go to the Southwest area, which is comprised of, I'm quite excited to share this information with you, which is comprised of, again, if you're a childcare worker, and if you wanted to go Southwest area as of January 4th. So the city of Bunbury, Bustleton, Shire of Augusta, Margaret River, Bridgetown, Keppel, Collie, Dardanup, Donnybrook, Harvey, Manjimup, Nana, all brilliant places to go for a wonderful drive, by the way. Those are all areas participating within the Shire of Dardanup. So they have got, and I spoke to the person, again, confirmation this morning, about 200 occupations at the moment that needs to be filled. So you ask yourself, well, surely all those places that I just mentioned has a childcare center somewhere, but you need to find out, you need to actively seek out these employers who seemingly have a shortage, they can't fill their positions locally, they've advertised, they've tried all those means, and then you pop up and be a convenient sort of a gap filler in that sense. But how do you find out who they are? How do you find out where they are? The only way you're going to find that out is, unfortunately, at the moment as we speak live, they don't have an avenue for you to find out who these employers are unless you find them out yourself. Now, any other means, any other way, if you went to Kalgoorlie, for example, Kalgoorlie is pretty cool because their DAMA is a little bit more well established because it's been around for some time. So they have a ready list of employers that you could engage and find out, and that information is also all in front of me. But I just don't have the time and luxury to go into that kind of details. But in Kalgoorlie, you can find out who they are, then you can get hold of them, and they know of you, and then that conversation has already happened between you two. Whereas in Southwest and WA, unfortunately, that's not the case yet. They are, and they will make known of who perhaps is looking for all of those places. So they save you the hassle of looking around possibly every conceivable, childcare place if you're a childcare worker, that is, to try to find that match. So just try to understand that. So let's assume you found a match. So the next step is, so that officer, okay, they call it the DAR officer, right? The DAR officer will say, right, I need to get this, that, the other. So you're not liaising with the employer directly. DAR, the officer, will then liaise with, on behalf of the employer, with the department to say, yes, this is who you are, this is your qualifying business, you've been around for X number of time, this is your nature of a business. They will get that for you. So they are your first point of contact. Just remember that. Same thing works for in Kalgoorlie at the same time. And I'm sure some of the other dharmas in the other parts of Adelaide and wherever else that you can find them. So New South Wales, and as well as in Warrnambool, I think there's got a place up in Victoria somewhere. So all of those places have their own means and ways of how do you access this particular employer. So if you get that, and if you are a occupation in demand, so at the moment in the Southwest Dharma area, they have under carers, health and welfare workers, I'm reading this thing out right now, age or disabled worker, childcare worker, community worker, disability services officer, enrolled nurse, family support worker, residential care officer, welfare worker, youth worker. You notice what I've just read. These are occupations that perhaps are not on any other list elsewhere. Okay, so hence why they've created a Dharma list specifically for you to get access to. Then they break it down into different categories, right? Different occupations demand. So they have hospitality, tourism, construction, engineers, agricultural, dairy, mechanical, medical, plant operators, technology, ICT project managers, even there, and so on and so forth. So the beauty of that is these areas, just looking at what a pastry cook, somebody just asked me. I'll come back to the question in a bit. I'm really glad that I'm actually seeing some questions, which I'll go into that shortly, right? But I also want to say very specifically, I've covered a lot of state nomination. I've covered this topic numerous times about 485s and whatnot. Today, I'm really going to talk about Dharma, right? So if this information is coming to you now, and you are only just discovering Dharma, so to speak, and you really want to know, gee, what exactly is it? I still don't know. I don't know how to. Then you contact me. That's where you have my contact details. And please, just email me separately if you can. And if that question that is popping up here, where I've seen some of the questions that I can sort of see from the corner of my eye is there, which I will go into shortly. But I want you to really make my time and your time worthwhile. Then you construct this email and say, this is who and where and how long I've been working post-qualification. This is my qualification to begin with. And I potentially already have an employer. And firstly, do I fall under that particular Dharma? Then that's my job. Then I can take the time, not live right now, go into pieces of paper or information, try to say, oh, person X, Y, Z is asking me this. Then it becomes kind of ridiculous. So I'm sure you can appreciate that. So today I really wanted to just talk about it in general. I will come across some of the questions shortly. So when I do, I need you to be aware that if you feel that your time, your circumstances is running out for your particular occupation, then you get in touch with me. I've looked and placed people in Kalgoorlie Dharma for baristas, bar supervisors, and then the specific requirements for that. Some of them require them to have skills assessment. In fact, sorry, most of them require them to have a skills assessment by VETASES. So VETASES skills assessment for Dharma is a little bit different. They specify what their requirements are, and they're very, very particular, but they're good people. VETASES helps us to help you in that regard. So if that's also a case that is in your sort of interest, then please get in touch with me, and I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So the other thing we need to do is to look at. I see. Okay. Another interesting thing, and I'm sure I haven't really checked some of the questions in detail. So some people are quite particular in the sense that they can't have the normal English requirements. They don't meet the band score and whatnot. So the beauty of DAMA also, it has got concessions provided for that purpose. So you could perhaps, if you're getting 4.5, and in those areas, you still need English requirements at the same time, but concessions are provided for you to make it easier for you to access that. And concessions also stretch beyond the pay, which is Tismet, which is what I said to you. So originally, DAMA is literally a brother or sister or whatever that you want to call it of the ENS, which is the employer-sponsored visa, which is the 482 visa or the 186 visa, and also now the 494, right? So if ordinarily you're supposed to meet 53,000 X number of dollars, you can actually come down a notch. You can be paid $48,000, $49,000 depending on your level and depending on your occupation. So that's what you mean by Tismet. Just understand, Tismet is the concessions that you're definitely going to get in terms of what you can be paid on the 482 and also English requirements. So just understand that. Now, let's see, we have, so I'm going to read out to you some of the occupations, because I can see some questions already been asked. What are some of the occupations that seemingly are? The list of occupations that I'm reading from the Southwest area. Of course, accommodation and hospitality managers are really quite popular at the same time. Aged or disabled worker, baker, bar attendant supervisor, very popular. I've done a lot of this. Cafe restaurant manager, which is always there. Childcare worker, oh my God, you guys really need to find someone in DAMA because that is your goal. Community worker, cook is there. Disability services officer, a lot of NDIS stuff going on there. Enrolled nurse, family support worker, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to come back. ICT project manager, I found very interesting to be there at the same time. Motor mechanics, some of my favorite people in the world, motor mechanics, because you're not on, say, the WA list. Motor mechanic is there for you. Clearly, in all those places, surely somebody is somewhere, you know, a panel shop, a mechanic shop, or somewhere needs a motor mechanic, and if they cannot find, and if you are the chosen one, that's for you. Nursing support worker. You notice that these are occupations that has got even a different name or ring to it. You don't find them in the normal, you know, migration, the short-term and the long-term skills list. So that's why they're on the fringe, is what I call them. Okay, a pastry cook, panel beater, residential care officer, truck driver. Okay, now a lot of you sometimes are studying something, you don't have an option, but then your partner has been working whilst you are on your visa. Your partner has been working as a truck driver, and your partner also was a truck driver offshore, probably has been, and then here at the same time for 2-3 years or whatever the case is. You'd be surprised. You do meet that requirement. So you could then start finding a place or a company within that area there who wants to sponsor them. Then the person comes in as a truck driver, waiter, supervisor, and then lastly, welfare worker and youth worker. So those are some of the occupations that I need to talk about, okay, which I think I've already mentioned. Now, okay, let me just come to that. Don't worry about the fees and whatnot. That's also associated with fees, okay. Cool. Can I just see if there's no real questions here? I want to just share something else with you. There's some crazy occupations down here. And in some occupations, by the way, when you go into permanent residency pathway, so even though in some cases that if you're above 50, this is going to be of some interest to some of you, and if you're above 50 and if you're already on some sort of agreement with them, up until the age of 55, you can be considered for PR pathway. So again, if that's something that is applicable to you now or in future, and if you wanted to specify that, and if you don't want to ask me that question live, you can literally, you know, write to me in detail. And I think I personally prefer that than if you did that, because then I don't have to run around through these pieces of paper. Then I can say, right, this person has done this person has done that, this is the period of time. You will get a reply on that, because I love DAMA. Not that because it rhymes with my name, but I really do love DAMA. Who wouldn't love DAMA? Come on. Right. So we're clear on what DAMA is. We understand this is an agreement that is, in fact, very specific between some outlying areas, some different occupations. We understand some of the requirements at the same time. We also know that in Kalgoorlie, especially, you could, very friendly people, by the way, over there. We've been there a couple of times, and they will really assist you to get to whatever that level that you want to get to. However, we are hoping that in Southwest, like I just said to you, at the moment, there's only 200 occupations, and the 200 occupations that I just read out to you, a list is going to be compiled shortly in terms of who are these employers who are actually looking for that. So that then you in this case, if you got in touch with me, for example, not that I only have this list is also available elsewhere, then we'll try to say, oh, right, let's get in touch with this employer, and this employer needs to determine and qualify themselves and deem okay enough to have you on board, and then the process starts. Okay, so that's also clear. Now, okay, so the DAMA agreement is really in effect for 5 years. Just remember that, okay? Now, the employers, like I said to you, they are the ones who must seek endorsement, okay, before lodging any labor agreement request. So it's just not any ordinary person who can just come and say, oh, look, I want to be DAMA, right? So like I said to you, individuals, as in yourself, cannot directly access a DAMA, all right? Individuals need to be sponsored. So hence why that employers list that I keep telling you about, they're the ones who say, hey, I really am struggling. I cannot get the right people, which is very much like the ENS, very much like the 482 that we've spoken about. So you need to demonstrate that you have done all you can to meet the labor market that, you know, that labor market testing that we keep talking about all the time. Okay, so that's also clear. This is good. I can move things along. Now, what if you were, and I'll say this and I'll come back to the questions, and I will. What if you're an aged or disabled carer, you're a dental assistant, you're a personal care assistant, and what if you are a slaughterer? Something to do with meat, don't worry about that. This is not a scene out of a movie. So what you need to do is, firstly, you need to have a skills assessment, and you need to have at least AQF level 2 or higher, and you need 1.5 years, because you're on a different level, you're on NSCORE level 4, and you also need 1.5 years of experience, which is just 20 hours a week, post-qualification, okay? Now, if you didn't have that, what they want to do is they want to see that you at least have AQF level 3. Don't get confused. If you have AQF level 3, then you only need 1 year, 20 hours a week experience, okay? Or if you just have basically a 1 year, 38 hours a week experience, okay? So just understand that. I'm going to put this aside. Very dry. I do apologize. DAMA can be very technical, which is different from my style of usually cracking a joke or two. But this is sort of a no joke matter. But I'm going to come back to the questions which I did say I was going to do, right? So looking at, I think, comments down here. I think it's already there. I see. Ooh, okay. What have we got? I don't know what similar. I don't know what you mean by my wife's passport 2015 PT 68. Still don't understand. Can I apply for a visa? I hope you can give me a little bit more information. Personally, I don't think so. It's got anything to do with DAMA, but anyway, Neha, what about DAMA for accountants? Absolutely, there's DAMA for accountants too. If you happen to find an employer there, not here, and it happens to be in that area there, you're on AQF level 1. So you clearly qualify for that at the same time. So again, if you're finding an employer there, and like I said, it's an extension of the 482, very much so. You still have to meet all those funny caveats for some occupations and whatnot, but just understand that some of the stuff that I spoke to you about, the TISMET salary concessions, the English concessions may not be applicable to you for some of the occupations that you just mentioned. So is that Niha? Yeah. So just remember that. So I think I've mentioned childcare worker. So Yaka, so you understand that for childcare worker, so it is. If you've been listening to the last 31 minutes or so of this, definitely all those occupations are there. Childcare worker comes under skill level 3. You need a skills assessment. You definitely need to find an employer, and then we can really work you through how you want to get this thing done. So at the moment, I have 16 childcare workers in the pipeline who are all trying to find. Out of that, I think 4 or 5 already have an employer. So the rest of them are all saying, do you have an employer? Now, if you're from the Southwest, I've just mentioned all those beautiful areas at the same time, 12 of each, surely somewhere there is a childcare worker or center or something there, not worker, childcare center there. So you must try to get hold of them. If you get hold of them on your own accord, because there are advertisements already active in the system, then that's well and good. Then you let me know, I'll tell you how to go about it. Or if not, once that particular list becomes available, it means an employer has reached out to that respective shire, that respective area, then you're going to get hold through them. Whereas in Kalgoorlie, the other beautiful part about that is there is already a list of participating, if you like, employers who then are the ones who are in this area, without getting into detail. Ankur, your question about pastry cook, yes, pastry cook is there as well. So these are easy questions to answer. I don't know why Muhammad Jafar is asking you about One Nike New South Wales. Okay. Sorry, Muhammad, I think we're talking about DAMA arrest of now. If I can finish up, I might just be coming back to you. But in any case, you got 90 points. I shouldn't think you have a problem there. Sammy wants to go to Australia. Okay, that's his first question. And Sammy says, I worked as a bank manager. Okay. So Sammy, how can I help you? You want to go to Australia? You want to come to Australia? Welcome. And you work as a bank manager. So if you give me a little bit more information, I really am very thrilled and glad when people tune into this kind of shows, this kind of live presentations. But if you give me a little bit more information, stop me from guessing, let alone having an internal little chuckle, then I can tell you what you can and what you cannot do. Okay, so I presume then if you're offshore, then if I am going to presume and say this to you, no offense to you, then you are going to apply on your own accord. Then I don't, yeah, then you find out if you are in a DAMA, at least if that's what you're interested in. So I really don't know what that question is about. Prem Nayak, hey, I like that. Hey, what is status for South Australia 491 offshore application? Hey, I don't know that because I'm talking about DAMA for now. Just joking, right? Really, I don't know that. So you just watch the scene for 491. I think I spoke about that last year. I did say that South Australia was very, very active on their offshore list. So I think it's still not been revamped or anything. It's supposedly there if you've applied, or if you see the list, let me know as well. Does this start replying on submitted AOI? Don't know that answer to that question, Prem, sorry. Brazil Ahmad, okay. My wife is in the HKRN. She has been working for more than 6 months in Queensland. She's working 22. Okay. Not related to. Okay, that's asking me about very long email, very long message from Roselle. You're basically asking me what and how someone on 95 points with she's eligible for Queensland. I don't have that information in front of me right now because I'm all DAMA-fied. I'm into that DAMA zone, if you want to call it, you know. So if you specifically want to, again, if it's all of those other questions that I may have just skimmed through, I do apologize live. But tell you, if you wanted to and ask me the very generic question, if you applied anywhere else, the year is just beginning. These states are just only waking up. So go refresh their respective, state nomination pages. They might give you a latest update on that at the same time. This is what I do personally at the same time. I just click on different parts and I suddenly come across some new announcement that I never thought was existing. And most of them are already up and running and they may have some revisions of them. So if it is anything to do with you at this point, you apply at this time and what's happening, I'm sorry I can't take those questions as of now. And this is Maheshi. Hi, is there a chance for PR if I study Masters of Data Science in Canberra? I think so. If you go into specifically ACT's matrix and skill occupation list, I'm sure you'll come across that, Maheshi. So now, I like to think that the question from Sunaira could be DAMA related, but it's a very tricky one. She's asking, oh, I think she's, yeah, okay, looks like a she. Can I get a skills assessment as a cafe manager if I have 1 year experience and diploma of leadership management? So first and foremost, you are trying to get a skills assessment in that occupation, hopefully also to come across DAMA because that occupation is on the DAMA list. But if you have a diploma of leadership and management, you just got that, however, not in the hospitality sector. So you might encounter that your 1 year experience may not be enough. So I suggest just do a little bit of reading between that and you'll come across the answer very, very easily. Salman, hi. I don't know, sometimes I like to, did specify very clearly this is a DAMA sort of presentation, but Salman, I'll take your question anyway. Hi, is there any work experience requirements for accountants? Okay, well, work experience requirements, no. If you're an accountant, you get your skills assessment done, you're an accountant, bingo. So please advise if accountants can be eligible for work experience exemptions. I still don't understand what you mean by work experience exemptions. If you wanted to have your work experience assessed, you could go to the assessing body. They could say, you are qualified, your qualifications are good, they're relevant, you are an accountant. But if you felt better because you worked X number of years and you wanted an assessing body to give you that little endorsement because you feel good, then you can also ask them, but that's not really a requirement, by the way, because when you are claiming points for assessment, for experience, you are the ones putting in, and the case officer from IMI can ask you that, whatever your occupation might be, that please provide proof that you worked X, Y, Z, and you do that in that manner. So just understand that, all right? Okay. All right, cool. I got questions. I got questions down here in front of me. Mamta Sharma, what is DAMA and how does it work for ITC systems analysts? Okay, what is DAMA? You're asking me at 3:34. Okay, no problems. So DAMA is basically an agreement that is, like I said, it's an agreement that the Australian government has reached with designated area that has been DAMA, right? DAMA is Designated Area Migration Agreement. Because you are in a hard to access area, places difficult to attract workforce, people notwithstanding. So you reach an agreement with the department that you can bring in people on that basis. I remember going across the list and I did not come across ICT. Firstly, it's not ITC, it's ICT, but okay. Systems analyst, it's a project manager that I saw there. I did not see. Yeah, there's customer support officer, support technicians. So I think what you meant to say was, so different DAMA have got different occupations. Like I said to you, like Southwest Dartmouth has got 200 occupations. Kalgoorlie keeps changing theirs quite regularly. So I think that's what it should happen. And if you are a ITC systems analyst, and if you're able to, by the way, get an assessment, usually a systems analyst and a business analyst can get an assessment as a ICT project manager, and if you can, that's on the list. You need to find an employer who is happy to take you on. If you cannot find an employer within the Perth CBD, then that's where it becomes relevant for you. So I hope that explains your question, Mamta. Okay, Priya, which RDA for telecommunications engineering, New South Wales? Okay. Which RDA for telecommunication engineering? I don't have the luxury at 3:44 to jump into the New South Wales website, but they've got so many areas, right? They got, I think Orana was one of them that is one of the participatory sort of areas, or what is the word called? So you put me on the spot now, Priya, but never mind, it's okay, I won't hold you to the spot. So you need to know who are these people, and that's a list of those people, and then you need to find correspondingly that occupation against that area, whether they are there for you. So that's the best way to find out, is literally go into the New South Wales areas. There's so many areas within that area that tells you who's on and who's off. Pranav, hi, if I study 2 years of masters in Newcastle, would it be okay to do my professional year in Adelaide or Perth? I suppose so. Why? Because doing a professional year doesn't say where you, professionally you can do just literally where you are. But remember, because you didn't study down here, you're not eligible for their particular stream. So if you wanted to meet the graduate occupation list, you won't. You'll meet a general stream. So if you wanted to qualify for the general stream, which is in you didn't say what you studied masters of. I had 2 years of master in Newcastle. So okay, normally people do masters in accounting, but you did masters in Newcastle. So I don't know what you studied in. So I would presume that you did IT or engineering or accounting. Yes, you are eligible to do PY anywhere. So now has come back. Will that affect my 491 in New South Wales? Now I gotta go into the same question. No, it wouldn't it? I mean, because if you're trying to meet the requirements for the New South Wales, and if New South Wales specifically specify that you need to have lived or be there in order to be eligible for an invitation, then you need to check that out against that. Like I said, each state, I can very confidently comment on on WA because I know WA stuff. So then I can find that out and tell you whether you are liable to any sort of funny situations there or not. Mohammed Ayub, Kazi, hi. Okay, cool. Now we're talking. Hi, what are the chances of Disability Services Officer after Masters of Disability from SA working? SA has got a pretty good DAMA at the same time, if I'm not wrong. Hang on. SA's DAMA is, come on, where are you? It's there somewhere. Okay, it's in one of these pieces of paper down here. So look, your chances are good. Your chances are good because you need a skills assessment, so don't forget that. So if you think you're able to because you worked and you got all of that, then happy days, Mohammed. Who else have I got here? Let's go. We've got Rupal Shah, my brother in India, and have more than 5 years experience in accounting. What are the chances of him coming to Australia on a PR basis? Okay, really? Rupal, thank you for your query. Now, not very good on the basis that he's going to try to apply for 189 unless he goes into some offshore 491 list of some place. 189, I've got accountants who are 105 points are not being invited for the last 1 year. So I don't think so. Your brother is anywhere close to 70 points, let alone 100. So not very good, unfortunately. If you come down and study, find options, and do that, which really is what a lot of people end up doing. Okay, Mohammed, I'm trying to read your question again at 3:41, so which you guys are ahead of me. Hi, a quick question. If someone has worked a total of 1,600 hours in the last 9 months, would that be considered as 1 year equivalent or 30 hours for skills assessment? So remember, skills assessment has specified that if you work 20 hours a week for 1 year, so you do the maths. I mean, 1,600 hours, the last 9 months, and all of that. It's not about whether you got more hours worked in 9 months. It's about the 1 year experience is really what they want to see. If your 20 hours a week does fall under the parameters of the 1 year, then you're in pretty much. That's what they want to see, right? So that's what constitutes 1 year of experience. Salman, my question is related to DAMA. Sorry, I forgot to mention DAMA. Salman, did you ask me a question earlier? So let's go back to you. What do you mean by my question? Oh, is there any work experience required for accountants? Oh, so Salman, you're referring to accountants for DAMA? So accountants don't have that sort of, what's your question again up there? Yeah. Any experience required for accountants? Also, please advise accountants can be eligible for, yeah. So there's, I see what you mean. You are asking whether you can have exemptions for work experience. No. You still need, like I said to you, it's like a 482. So you can't say you wanted to apply for a 482 for an accountant here, that you needed 2 years of experience only, no skills assessment required. But then if you don't have 2 years, you're not eligible for a 482. So you will still need to meet that requirement. Just remember that, because that's for that occupation specific. So don't get confused with, oh, just because DAMA, I'm in some outlying area, I can get there without work experience exemption. So I don't think so. That's, hopefully that answers your question. Venkat Connetti, any chance for 190 WA at 85 points for Baker? You guys like asking these questions, even though I said this is about DAMA, right? You like teasing me. That's okay. That's cool. I got a funny bone in me too. What are the chances? If you bake me something really, really good, and if I taste that, I might just consider that. No, I'm in the mood. Look, I don't know. 85 points. They haven't really invited a lot of bakers lately, by the way. So just sit tight. Make sure you got good yeast brewing. And if it's a good little bread, we'll talk about that. So I don't know. What have we got? Okay, Pranav, no problems, my friend. If you realize this is about DAMA, no problem. But if you have another question, no issues. Like I said, I'm one of them who, I want to try to utilize the time that I have, which is another probably 7 or 8 minutes left, to go into DAMA specific if I can. Again, if you have a question that is really eating inside of you, and it's the 12th of the January, it's only 12 days into this glorious year, ask me, email me, please. I like to try to maybe put you at ease and give you some clarity on something that, again, if that information, I have pieces of paper, I call this paper warfare, right? If this is not good enough, I'm more than happy. I love to then go into the question that you're going to post to me. I'm going to read that. I'll flick an email back to you. Easy, no dramas if that's the case. Pranav comes back again and says, Master of ICT. Okay, so you've done ICT. Okay, so now that's clear. Anand has what is my best option? Anand, I think your question is to do with state sponsorship. I will have to come back to that if I have any time. Sorry, I can't answer that question right now. I'm trying to scroll through the last few questions that I have, and I'm going to read out anything that is DAMA related first. So skipping from Anand's question that you guys can also see. And then I got Prem, who's about 190 mechanical. Okay, maybe I come back. Again, telecommunications for Vinayak. Prem. Okay, I don't know what that is. Also, Gautam. Gautam is an interesting question. When and which PR visa can access which they have holding 482 short-term visa? Well, it all depends, isn't it? I mean, if you are on a 482 and you have an occupation that's on, if you're in WA, you're on 482 because you're not WA grad, you're on a general list of occupations, you apply. And I've had clients who've done that on very high points, 85, 90 points, and they've been invited. So yeah, you can access that. That could be a 190 and 491, by the way, Gautam, if that explains. Satya, okay, it must be a brother of Gautam, because Gautam Prakash and Satya Prakash, hopefully not related. Hello, I'm a chef. I want to apply to work for visa. I want to apply for work visa or PR for Australia. Okay, I am a chef. I want to apply for work visa. Where are you, Satya? If you let me know, then I can perhaps answer your question. Salman. Oh. Okay, Salman. Few minutes left. Let's read your question. Long question about DAMA. Hi. Previous question was related to DAMA. Sorry, I forgot to mention DAMA in my question. I just wanted to ask if there are any work experience requirements for accountants to be eligible get DAMA sponsorship. I think I've answered that question. If there are requirements, can I get work experiences? So there are no exemptions for that. I'm happy to clarify that, Salman, but there are no exemptions for that. Thank you for that. Satya has come back, 10 years of experience as continental chef. So Satya and I are having a real-time conversation going on, eh? Okay. I'm a chef, want to apply for work. Okay, so you can only apply either as an employer sponsored, if you get one, which is not a bad option for you, by the way, or I don't know of anyone who's actually come through and gotten a 189 skill independent visa as a chef on 85, 90 points just yet. So I won't hold my breath on that. So you are going to look at possibility of finding a particular state, going, studying, doing, working. Come down. If you've got continental experience as a chef for 10 years, bring your trade down here and, try to study, work, see, do, and find options from that. And that's what I would do. Craig's got a question about 189. Okay, I'll come back to you if I have the time. Working full-time as a childcare worker. Okay, now we're talking working full-time as a childcare worker in 485 visa bridging. Will that count as work experience? Absolutely. Okay, why? 485 has got full work rights. So if you're working, you got 1 hour, one years of experience. Finally, I got someone who perhaps I might, really give my time and effort down here, because I presume is Yaka Rai. You get in touch with me. You're a childcare worker. That's exactly the example I said immediately when I started talking about this 51.5 minutes ago. The childcare workers, the motor mechanics, the fringe occupations that you find yourself in, the head chefs, the baristas, the supervisors. I'd like to help you guys. Get in touch with me. Seriously, if it's not about you, you know someone is in that situation, I'll tell them how to get around this whole DAMA situation. They might just find an avenue out, not just to finally find the employer, but find ways to which a PR pathway is actually conceived. Not making this thing up. This is real stuff, guys. Okay? So, finally, I have the governor. Governor Muria. Okay, must be a place that's related to Lesotho in Africa. Governor, that's a cool name. What are the chances of being nominated for 189? Okay, I think I shall stop reading that question because it's about 189. Sorry, Governor. Ananda, hi, sir. I'm trying to do TR. Okay, I've got literally 2 minutes. That's why I'm reading through Governor. Sorry. I'll come back to you if I have the time. What is this? Oh, TR visa. Okay. Now, Ananda, sorry. Again, a question to do with quite a long email, sorry, quite a long message about TR and whatnot. Visa is ending. A lot of sort of a scary situation into the student visa thing. please do get in touch with me if I have just briefly read your question and it's to do with a student visa or state sponsorship or 189. I'm sorry, really, I'm genuinely sorry to have skipped your question. It's not that I like to, because I'm trying to find questions to do with DAMA. Okay, that's all, because I really wanted to dedicate this time for that. I have numero uno, 1 minute left to read any questions related to DAMA. And surprise, surprise, no more questions. Okay, so I will skip Ananda and Rupal, and I would say very quickly then, just as a wrap up, this was about DAMA and nothing else, but I've managed to read some of the questions, and I find that some people, your particular situation, if you're sitting and asking me all these questions about this particular state, that particular state, I've applied, nothing is happening. Hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to look into DAMA. You'd be surprised if you could find an employer there, and if you're waiting and you're not getting an invite, things are not happening, DAMA could just be your way out. You could actually go live into beautiful outlying areas, less traffic, less difficult people to deal with, the chilled out place in Australia. You might just actually find that, you know, the next 2-3 years you could be working for a DAMA employer, which has got perfect pathways for PR. Really might just be the way out for you if your existing visa is about to finish, which is exactly the time that I have right now, and you use it on that basis. So any other questions that I have not answered, once again, for the 4th time, I do apologize. You can contact me. You have my details. You let me know, and if you really have something pressing, again, email me personally, and I will take it from there. And for all of those people who have tuned in, thank you very much. I hope that if I've missed out on anything, which I suspect I do, just let me know, and I'm happy to clarify that later. Thanks again tuning in from wherever you are, and I'll sign off right now, probably to click end broadcast exactly at 4. Thank you very much. And my name is Dharmindher Singh. I'm signing off from Canning Mill. End broadcast.